Going on to chapter 7, text 25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita mudhoyam nabijananti loko mam ajam avyayam. Translation. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yoga Maya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. Text 26, together. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani chabutani mam tu veda nakashchana. Translation. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Text 27, together. Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sargayanti parantapa. Translation. O scion of Bharata, Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Text 28. Yesham tvanta gatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridha vrataha. Translation. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Text 29. Jara marana mokshaya mam ashritya yatantiye te brahma tadvidhuksnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Translation. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental and fruitive activities. Text 30. Sadhi bhutadhi daivam mam sadhi yajnam chaye vidhu prayana kale picha mam te vidhur yukta chetasaha. Translation. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all demigods and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can, with steadfast mind, understand and know me even at the time of death. Conclusion of chapter, that's the end of the 7th chapter, knowledge of the Absolute. Going on to chapter 8 for a few verses. Attaining, chapter titled Attaining the Supreme. Text 1. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhi bhutam cha kim proktam adhi daivam kim uchyate. Translation. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the Self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Text 2. Adhiyagna katam kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale chakatam gyeyosi niyatatmabihi. Translation. How does this Lord of Sacrifice live in the body? And which part does he live, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Text 3, final text of the evening. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodayatmam Uchate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro Visarga Karma Samyita. Translation. The Supreme Lord said, The instructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the Self. Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma, or fruitive activities. All right, back to chapter 7, text 23. And I'll read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 23, translation. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Purport. Some commentators on the Gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord, but here it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to the different planetary systems where various demigods are situated, just as a worshipper of the sun achieves the sun, or a worshipper of the demigod of the moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if anyone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain that particular god's planet. It is not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is denied here, for it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planets in the material world, but the devotee of the Supreme Lord goes directly to the Supreme Planet of the Personality of Godhead. Here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshiping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they don't know to what part of the body food must be supplied. Some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and ways to supply food. This isn't very sanguine. Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord, and in their ignorance they believe that each and every demigod is a separate god and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Not only are demigods parts of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Brahmanas are the head of the Supreme Lord, the Kshatriyas are the arms, etc., and that all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotee reaches. The results achieved by the demigods, benedictions, are perishable because within this material world, the planets, the demigods, and their worshippers are all perishable. Therefore, it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshiping demigods are perishable, and therefore such worship is performed by the less intelligent living entity. Because the pure devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service of the Supreme Lord achieves eternal, blissful existence that is full of knowledge, his achievements and those of the common worshipper of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. His favor is unlimited. His mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is unlimited. What a powerful sentence. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. His favor is unlimited. His mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is unlimited. We're looking at chapter 7, text 23 through chapter 8, text 3. And Maharaj, would you like to say a few words on these verses at this time? Or go ahead. Okay. Yeah, so Prabhupada's making it very clear that we shouldn't waste our time. In one sense, it's good that someone is worshiping someone higher than himself, like a demigod, but at the same time, Prabhupada is cautioning us that we don't want to waste our time, because imagine someone that wants to go back to Krishna's abode, but spends a lot of time worshiping one of the 330 million demigods. 330 million. So these are all, they're all in this material world. They all have to leave the body at some point. If they're not in the spiritual world, if they're not in Krishna's abode, they have to leave the body. So sometimes the demigods are actually looking at human beings on earth and saying, wow, they get almost a little jealous sometimes. Look at the chance they have to go back to Godhead. You know, um, they have a chance to go back to Godhead very quickly. They have a chance to take the shortcut. The demigods don't even have the chance to take the shortcut sometimes. So they're looking at humans like, wow, I wish I had that chance to take the shortcut. And so Srila Prabhupada is showing us how to take the elevator. And he's not showing us the stairs. He's saying you can actually go, you can take the elevator, you can take the shortcut. Why waste your time climbing 100,000 flights of stairs when you can take an elevator and save a lot of time? The analogy is sometimes given of a combination lock, very complicated combination lock, and you don't know how many digits to put in, nothing like that. So you could try for many years, many even thousands of years to try to get into it. But if someone hands you a piece of paper with the combination, it's very simple. So it'd be very silly to get the combination on a piece of paper and then just without looking at it, rip into a bunch of bits and throw it over your shoulder. That'd be a mistake. That'd be quite the mistake. And so we have to know good advice when we read it and when we see it, and we have to not only know good advice, but we have to take it. We have to take the advice. We have to take the medicine. We have to know what is the good medicine, and then we actually have to take the medicine. And the teacher can show us the door, but we have to go through the door ourselves. The teacher can't go through the door for us. We have to go through that door. So we have to take these lessons of Prabhupada and of Guru and Krishna, and we have to take them seriously. And so this is a beautiful purport here. I might just ask a couple questions, or maybe we could ask a couple questions that will help us clarify the purport and in the text in our minds just a little bit. So where do the worshippers of demigods go? They go to the different planetary systems where the demigods are situated. So even Indra is sometimes thinking, it gets a little bit like, gosh, look at that, a little envious at times or whatever. We all get that way, maybe a little sometimes. Maybe sometimes we're feeling a little frustrated for some reason during the day. We don't know why. But if we're feeling that way, maybe we could ask ourselves, how is Guru today? How is Krishna today? How is Srila Prabhupada today? So we can ask those questions too, to get outside of ourselves just a little bit and realize, like, wait, it's about someone else. It's not just all about me. What about other people? So many other people in the world. And of course, Krishna residing over everything. Krishna's in every heart. He's the super soul next to the Atma. And so that's quite a lot of responsibility, quite a lot of things he's juggling and Guru is juggling, and they do it effortlessly. They make it look so easy. But maybe instead of just feeling bad, we should say, gosh, how could I serve Krishna today? How could I serve Guru? And you might actually find you feel better by doing some service. You can feel better. You might your heart might start to warm up a little bit, and you can, just take pleasure in the small things sometimes. Like today, there's always a day every spring where it seems like just someone turned on the green light. It's like all of a sudden today I'm noticing all the grass is green and the buds are popping off of the trees and things. Springtime is here, and so all the living entities are out, and they need some guidance, and they need some guidance. But there's homeless people out there that need help. There's CEOs of major corporations that need help. There's teachers out there that need help. There's people driving on the road that need help. So we can help just a little bit. We can do just what we can and do a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. And So yeah, and we just have to try not to take things the wrong way, like a little small correction is not the end of the world, If you're driving down the road, someone honks at you, it can feel like it's imperative to explain yourself to that person that honked. But really, is it that important to explain yourself, or could you just keep going? Can you just keep going and let them go on their way, and you go on your way? And so Krishna, I think, is helping us see some of these things. And the devotee of the Supreme Lord goes directly to the supreme planet of the personality of Godhead. And that's a place where time doesn't exist. It's beyond time. It's actually where you're from. It's going back home, back to Godhead. And there's so much beauty there, and everyone is serving the Lord in harmony. And it's so nice. So we can practice for that here, and we can work on going back there here while we're here. It's one of the reasons why we're here. We're training ourselves on how to behave in the spiritual world, how to act in the spiritual world. We need to be trained up. Prabhupada and Guru taught us how to be, and are teaching us how to be gentlemen, how to be perfect gentlemen. Prabhupada taught us so much, and with his patience and his care and his desire to serve Krishna knows no bounds. Knows no bounds. And what so the demigods are just parts of the universal body. Some people in their ignorance might believe that each and every demigod is a separate god and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. So if one knows that both the demigods and himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. His knowledge is perfect. Okay. Couple notes here. And Krishna is full in 6 opulences: wealth, beauty, knowledge, fame, renunciation, power. And that's awesome to think about how powerful he is. But I was thinking a little bit this week about some of the implications of that. And I've probably heard this many times from all of you, but it just seems like wealth, knowledge, power, beauty, renunciation, that these are also things that the living entity is craving, and the living entity is craving these things, and the living entity is looking at other people that have these things and sometimes becoming jealous or disheartened. And part of it is because Krishna has all these things in full. And part of us, one of the reasons we're here is because we somehow wanted to compete, and we wanted to be the person with all wealth and all power, all beauty, all knowledge, all renunciation. And so we have to be careful not to try to lord these things over other people, or try to chase after these things. Because why chase after these things if you can never top Krishna? You'll never be able to have more wealth than Krishna, more power than Krishna, and things like this. So it's about surrender. Living entities can surrender, and then they're freed up a little bit. You don't have to struggle so hard to compete. There's some freedom there. By knowing Krishna supreme and knowing that you're not the body, there's a lot of freedom there. Text 24. Unintelligent men who know me not think that I have assumed this form and personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is changeless and supreme. Purport. Those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons, and here the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna in his personal form is here speaking before Arjuna, and still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. It bewilders them to think that Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, it bewilders them to think that Krishna has a form. They think, well, the topmost must be something like an energy, right? Or the topmost must be like electricity, or the Brahma Jyoti. Isn't that because Krishna came as a human, so wasn't that limited? And didn't he go back and merge in the Brahma Jyoti or something? And the Brahma Jyoti, all this energy, it comes from Krishna. Energy comes from the energetic, and um, so Krishna has a form. He's God. He is the supreme. What can he not do? Is there anything Krishna cannot do? So he is supreme. So he can do this. He came here. He came here in his two-armed form, and he showed us. He comes to bring religiosity back to the world, and he comes here to please the devotees, and he acts out his pastimes, and he's doing these things eternally all over the many universes. He's acting out these pastimes, and then these books got passed down, and for so many years, so these books are so ancient, so amazing. This text was taught to the sun god many millions of years ago, Vishwaswan. So this is no ordinary book. This is no ordinary, someone sat down and was thinking about it and they wrote a few things. This is carefully designed by Krishna for every living entity to give them instructions and knowledge so they don't have to struggle, and so they don't have to take birth again, so they don't have to go through so many things. Krishna is protecting his devotees. Krishna is saying, if you chant my holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He says, I will help you clear your heart of so much mess, so much mucky muck, and I will help you clear it out, and I will actually take away some of your karma, some of your past karma from all your many lifetimes, all those things you did that we don't know. We don't always remember what we did. We don't remember what we did in past lives, but Krishna knows so many bad things and so many things that we're glad we don't remember some of these things. But Krishna is clearing, he's giving us a blank slate. He's given us a clean slate. So we have to take that and say, and not misuse it. And say, thank you, Krishna, for giving me this chance. And Lord Krishna, in his personal form, is here speaking before Arjuna, and still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamunacharya, a great devotee of the Lord, in the disciplic succession from Ramunajacharya, has written two very appropriate verses in this connection. He says, my dear Lord, devotees like Vyasadeva and Narada know you to be this personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics, your form, and your activities, and one can thus understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees, cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However, expert such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedanta and the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, it is not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead. So that tells us that we don't have to try to read the hundreds of thousands, the many pages in the Vedas, every single page of the Veda, try to memorize everything. We could spend our whole lives trying to, read all the Vedas and memorize all of them. But really, it's like Krishna and Prabhupada are saying, what's in your heart? We can study a lot, as much as we want, but we have to study for the right reasons. We're studying to better understand Krishna, to better understand this science, not just for memorization's sake or something, but we want to understand the personality of Godhead. We want to know more about Him, and we want to learn how to serve. And it's a step-by-step process. We're learning. And this is text, A couple questions about these here. Okay. I'm actually going to go ahead a little bit to text 25. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yoga Maya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. So Krishna is saying here, I don't have to show myself. People may say, well, where is God? I've never seen him. But Krishna does not have to show himself to anyone's beck and call. He's listening. You could say he's always listening, but he's not always going to appear in front of any living entity at their beck and call. We have to do a little work. We have to put in the work and be, practice nishkama karma yoga, doing it for no personal gain. That's hard. Not wanting any material gain at all. Not wanting any personal gain at all. That's a challenge, but that's nishkama karma yoga. Purport. It may be argued that since Krishna was present on this earth and was visible to everyone, then why isn't he manifest to everyone now? But actually, he was not manifest to everyone. When Krishna was present there, were only a few people who could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's interesting to think about, being on the planet. People were on the planet with Krishna and they didn't know. He was present there only before a few people who could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is traveling with his entourage and with his peoples. He doesn't always associate with every people like that. In the assembly of Kurus, when Shishupal spoke against Krishna being elected president of the assembly, Bhishma supported him, Krishna, and proclaimed him to be the supreme God. Similarly, the Pandavas and a few others knew that he was the supreme, but not everyone. He was not revealed to the non-devotees and the common man. Therefore, in the Gita, Krishna says that but for his pure devotees, all men consider him to be like themselves. So all except for his pure devotees, all men are considering Krishna to be like themselves. He was manifest only to his devotees as the reservoir of all pleasure. But to others, to unintelligent non-devotees, he was covered by his eternal potency. In the prayers of Kunti in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.18, it is said that the Lord is covered by the curtain of Yoga Maya, and thus ordinary people cannot understand him. Kunti prays, O my Lord, you are the maintainer of the entire universe, and devotional service to you is the highest religious principle. Therefore, I pray that you will also maintain me. Your transcendental form is covered by the Yoga Maya. The Brahma Jyoti is the covering of the internal potency. May you kindly remove this glowing effulgence that impedes my seeing your Satchid Ananda Vigraha, your eternal form of bliss and knowledge. So that's 1.8.18. And maybe you could just take a look at the purport there. Purport. Srimati Kunti Devi was quite aware that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, although he was playing the part of her nephew. Such an enlightened lady could not commit a mistake by offering obeisances unto her nephew. Therefore, she addressed him as the original Purusha, beyond the material cosmos, the original person. Although all living entities are also transcendental, they are neither original nor infallible. The living entities are apt to fall down under the clutches of material nature, but the Lord is never like that. In the Vedas, therefore, he is described as the chief among all living entities. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanash Chaitananam. Then again, he is addressed as Ishvara, or the controller. The living entities, or the demigods like Chandra and Surya, are also to some extent Ishvara, or the controller, but none of them is the supreme Ishvara, or the ultimate controller. He is the Parameshvara, or the Supersoul. He is both within and without. Although he was present before Srimati Kunti as her nephew, he was also within her and everyone else. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, the Lord says, I am situated in everyone's heart, and only due to me one remembers, forgets, and is cognizant, etc. Through all the Vedas, I am to be known because I am the compiler of the Vedas, and I am the teacher of the Vedanta. End quote. Queen Kunti affirms that the Lord, although both within and without all living beings, is still invisible. The Lord is, so to speak, a puzzle for the common man. Queen Kunti experienced personally that Lord Krishna was present before her, yet he entered within the womb of Uttara to save her embryo from the attack of Ashwatthama's Brahmastra. Kunti herself was puzzled about whether Sri Krishna is all-pervasive or localized. In fact, he is both, but he reserves the right of not being exposed to persons who are not surrendered souls. This checking curtain is called the Maya, energy of the Supreme Lord, and it controls the limited vision of the rebellious soul. It is explained as follows. All right, so that's a little bit of text 25. So Krishna was not manifest to everyone. Avyaya. So there's that word avyaya, inexhaustible, in text 25. Avyaya, inexhaustible. A very nice word. Krishna is inexhaustible. He's inexhaustible. He can go on, and he's impossible to keep up with. And that can be very fun. Even the cowherd boys love that. They love running around with Krishna. And so this avyayam word, sometimes it's been defined by Srila Prabhupada as imperishable, inexhaustible, eternal, immutable in Bhagavad Gita 2:21, everlasting, irreproachable, without diminution, spiritual in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada defined it as that. Without loss of energy, forever. Avyayam, inexhaustible. To continue with the purport on text 24, one cannot understand. No, text 25. Text 25. This Yogamaya curtain is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of the Gita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his transcendental form of bliss and knowledge, is covered by the eternal potency of Brahma Jyoti. And the less intelligent impersonalists cannot see the Supreme on this account. Also in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-7, there is this prayer by Brahma. Quote, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Supersoul, O Master of all mystery, who can calculate your potency and pastimes in this world. You are always expanding your eternal potency, and therefore no one can understand you. Learned scientists and learned scholars can examine the atomic constitution of the material world or even the planets, but still they are unable to calculate your energy and potency, although you are present before them. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is not only unborn, but he is avyaya, inexhaustible. His eternal form is bliss and knowledge, and his energies are all inexhaustible. So like Ananta Shesh, with all of its many hundreds and thousands of hoods, cannot even begin to speak all the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Brahma, the topmost demigod and the designer of this material creation, he says, high as it he is bowing down to Krishna. He's saying no one can calculate your greatness. No one can understand you. So he's, other than Krishna, he's one of the topmost personalities in all the universes. And so he is saying this. He's saying Krishna is the topmost. He is bowing. All these demigods are bowing down to Krishna. They're all saying they give up. They all bow down to Krishna. They give it up to Krishna. 26. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Purport. Here the question of personality and impersonality is clearly stated. If Krishna, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is considered by the impersonalists to be Maya, to be material, then he would, like the living entity, change his body and forget everything in his past life. Anyone with a material body cannot remember his past life, nor can he foretell his future life, nor can he predict the outcome of his present life. Therefore, he cannot know what is happening in past, present, and future. Unless one is liberated from material contamination, he cannot know past, present, and future. So Prabhupada's bringing up the point that living entity can't really predict the outcome of the present life. Doesn't really know what is happening not only in the past or the future, but doesn't really even know what's happening at this moment in the present. So much happening and can't really see the implications, isn't really clued in to Krishna's plan. So that's amazing. Unlike the ordinary human being, Lord Krishna clearly says that he completely knows what happened in the past, what is happening in the present, and what will happen in the future. In the 4th chapter, we have seen that Lord Krishna remembers instructing Vivishvan, the sun god, millions of years ago. Krishna knows every living entity because he is situated in every living being's heart as the Supreme Soul. So Krishna knows you on a deep, deep level. You don't have to describe to Krishna who you are. You don't have to defend yourself and like that. So he already knows your heart much deeper than even you know it. So Krishna, he's like he's your greatest friend. He's right there with you. You've known him for so long. And so he knows every living entity. The clouds may cover all these in the sky temporarily, but this covering is only apparent to our limited vision. The sun, moon, and stars are not actually covered. Similarly, Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord. Out of millions and millions of men, some try to become perfect in this human form of life, and out of thousands and thousands of such perfected men, hardly one can understand what Lord Krishna is. Even if one is perfected by realization of impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, he cannot possibly understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, without being in Krishna consciousness. So that's the key. That's the code that unlocks all these doors. The doors of transcendental wisdom and the doors of eternal blissful life. These aren't possible to unlock without understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, without being in Krishna consciousness. So yeah, he knows it all. He's the oldest of the old. And how do we learn more about Krishna and Krishna consciousness? Tadvidhi pranipatena upadekshanti. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanam pariprashnena sevya. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Text 27. O scion of Bharata, Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. So all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by dualities of desire and hate. So these little babies are being born, but they've got this past karma, and they're on a mission to find Krishna. They don't know it yet, possibly, but all living entities are overcome by these dualities of desire and hate. So we have to rise above these dualities, and we can help someone. There's talk of all these people that don't know about Krishna yet. So we can help. We can pass out a book to a stranger. Someone we go to the grocery store. Why not put a couple small books in your back pocket? Put a couple Hare Krishna business cards. Always keep a few cards on you. Always keep a couple books on you. And if it feels like this might be the right time to pass out a book, it is the right time. That feeling is a hint that it's a chance to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and give a book to someone. Distribute a book, and you could actually save their soul. That's a powerful thing. That we can't take that lightly. We actually have the power to help. Not that we can save them, but we can help them find someone who can and help them find Krishna. So every day, we're getting these opportunities. So let's take advantage of them. Any questions or comments tonight for anyone? Yes, Hasmukh, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you for such a nice satsang. Yeah, I'm very happy the way you conducted all the slokas so fluently.
Thank you.
Very nice. Prabhuji, what's the difference between Brahman and self? I thought they were both same, but apparently there is a difference. Can you describe that?
Aham Brahmasmi. I am spirit. Brahman.
Not Brahmasmi, it says Brahman in the book here. Only Brahman. Brahman and self.
Yeah. Let me think about that for a second. So we are all, Brahman is spirit. So we are spirit. We are part and parcel of Krishna. We have a drop of the ocean water. Krishna is the ocean. We are a drop. So we are spirit souls. We are spirit. But the supreme Brahman, there's para-Brahman. There's us, the living entities, and then there's para-Brahman, the supreme Brahman, the supreme spiritual effulgence. So those are just a few thoughts. If anyone else would like to add on to that, I think we'd love to hear. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
I was going to say just quickly that Brahman is the spiritual effulgence of Krishna, whereas the individual souls are a different energy and they're atomic. So that's a difference.
Atomic, yeah. Our souls are actually more powerful. Your soul is more powerful than the atomic bomb. You've got the soul is this other spiritual particle that's nothing like the material world. It's so powerful. So because we've got a little bit of Krishna in there. Hare Krishna, you had something?
Hare Krishna. So with how far we've fallen and amidst all the conditioning that we've gone through, how is the best way to render loving service to Krishna without ulterior motives?
Yeah, I guess it's a step-by-step process every day. Am I doing this for Krishna? We can ask ourselves every morning and every night, am I doing this for Krishna? Am I doing this for myself? Did I work for Krishna today? And we can take it step by step and just take the step-by-step process and don't worry so much about everything bad that we've ever done, but just focus on the fact that how far you've come. We're here. We got to hear the Maha Mantra. We got to learn about the Maha Mantra. And so it may be doing service that's a little outside of our comfort zone too. And doing a service that just stepping out of our comfort zone, helping someone else, always thinking about others. Some people were raised like in a very helping, like in a family where like they were very trained up to like serve the family and very trained to at an instant go and serve and help. But some of us didn't necessarily come up in that way of knowing, it's all generational, because like my parents didn't have very good parents. And so neither one of them really had a father. And so I'm somewhat the result of that. I was raised by two people that didn't really have a father for the most part that was there in their lives. And so my parents were so they're so caring that they didn't want to keep that generational thing going. So they were kind of like the opposite. They were there, and they were maybe overprotective and maybe and very nice and very, but they weren't so like do this, like they weren't so into training. It was kind of more like, a little bit of like, they let me figure it out, and they're very tolerant. And so I didn't grow up with like a service attitude of like, my father says something and I go do it. It was like, and so it's been a learning process. So we're learning how to serve and learning how to be selflessly serving. And so if you can dovetail whatever you're doing, if you can dovetail it in Krishna consciousness, just do it for Krishna as much as you can. If you work at a gas station or something, it may be very hard, but just work for Krishna. Earn that money so you can buy a new Prabhupada book, and invest in your family to get them closer to Krishna, so that even though you work at a gas station and you may feel bad that you're like selling alcohol to people and things, maybe you feel stuck in that situation, but you can work for Krishna and you can think about Krishna and you can pass it on to as many people as possible. So if we're remembering that we're part of Krishna's team, I think that's the best way. Hare Krishna. All right, Bhagavad Gita as it is. Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.